Hey everyone, welcome back to FPL Fran. Today's video is going to be my Game Week 18 transfer plans. To be completely honest, I've already used 3 free transfers. I know this is pretty crazy, but we are jumping into a period where the fixtures are coming fast and thin. There's only 2 fixtures left this game week, and I've given myself at least 1 free transfer to hopefully address whatever can kind of come out of this United versus Villa fixture, which obviously is played at Villa Park, and then Fulham versus Nottingham Forest. I'm, hoping that Fulham, I guess, keep their or lose their clean sheet because I've obviously made the wrong decision here to play Lacroix in what was a 50-50-ish situation with the sort of clean sheet odds being, 30%, 29%, both, close between, let's say, Palace and Fulham, and we'll see what happens. But the game week went reasonably well, and I think I have to say this is behind a backdrop of a lot of people using chips, right? So I've seen amazing bench boosts. So I think I saw FPL Sports Science had an amazing 112 game week bench boost. I saw JC, so Spaceman, FPL Spaceman, if you find him, someone who works with Solio and is one of the co-founders, he had an absolutely exquisite free hit with the Lewis Potter brace. People triple captained Holland as well. So congratulations to anyone who played a chip this week. I think whatever chip you played, it really should have worked out splendidly. And yeah, that's pretty awesome. For myself, though, no chips, but we obviously have already used the chips, and the chips have helped us get into nice advantageous positions in FPL. So you can't really complain in a circumstance like that in a week where I think I've pretty much kept what is close to a gray arrow. It's a small red right now, but Bruno is to play. A lot of people do own Bruno, though, and probably have more players left to go. So, as I said, I'm not holding out any hope that this is going to be a green. It would really take like a monumental Bruno effort and almost everyone else to blank for that to happen. But I think most of the threats are gone. I'm pretty happy with how the game week is. And we just move on towards game week 18 now. So in terms of 17, Hincapie was obviously splendid. I think the key thing that we kind of singled out is that he is a very good def conner just individually. So this whole argument of is someone good at DEF CON because of their opponents, because of who they're playing for as a team. There are some merits to that as an argument, but at the end of the day, it is really just how good you are as an individual. You can see that, for example, within Senesi at Bournemouth, where he's getting like 20 DEF CON within a game, and his center back partner Diakite is not even at the DEF CON points threshold. And you can see that across the board with many other players. So whilst Gabriel, for example, was someone who got DEF CON, Hincapie, I think, is actually getting DEF CON at a higher rate, which probably just suggests, he prefers getting into a duel. And that's fine. Saliba doesn't. But that's why Hincapie inherently has more value as long as he's playing. And he's done really well. I'm actually hoping he gets another price rise so that gives me a little bit more transfer flexibility in the future, as I'll be able to pocket the 0.1 sell value there. O'Reilly had another... I can't complain when someone gets 6 pointers every single week. That's actually tough to do. Like, you look at Virgil, and the Tottenham game was primed for a clean sheet, and he was not able to keep clean sheets there. So I don't feel too bad about going for O'Reilly many weeks ago. Mateus Nunes has done better since, got into the bonus as well this week, I think with 2 bonus. And I'm just hoping one of these weeks eventually O'Reilly's involved in a set piece, or his actions in terms of sort of running in behind will sort of be rewarded. Not amazing XGI within this match, but this was a great game on paper to keep a clean sheet, and they did. And to be fair, Bowen actually looked really good once again. So pretty interesting game week from that perspective. Lacroix, I think there's not much to say here other than this was, to be honest, a slightly tougher game for Palace because obviously it's an away match, but I think because they rotated, I felt pretty comfortable playing Lacroix. As I said, I haven't really enjoyed the recent Fulham performances, and it's not like my bench was that amazing, or I think everyone's played someone who's blanked this week, right? Like Virgil, for example, got 2 points. Krupi Jr. in my team got 1 point. Richards, that's a 50-50 to me. Both of them got 17 DEF CON. One player got a yellow card. One player played worse and got 2 points. So Sobo, he's I tweeted immediately that he's on the list, if anyone's watched Chris Jericho. But yeah, I mean, that probably in hindsight was a pretty poor transfer from me, in the sense that I think, yes, I wanted to get someone in the position of replacing Dewsbury Hall and moving into a 3-5-2 structure, but probably it was a bit ill-advised going to someone with 4 yellow cards. But I think that's what happens as well when you go into, let's say, a fixture window like this and you actually think, okay, I might keep Sobo anyways, and that's a pro because let's say if Sobo gets suspended, I think one of the things that I was thinking of was actually if Sobo gets suspended, I probably could keep him. But the main thing that's actually spurred me to make transfers this week is not Sobo, but more specifically Ekitike. Ekitike just looks like such a good pick to own, and I've really enjoyed watching him play. Every time he starts, he just looks like a threat. Didn't actually get that many chances versus Tottenham, if we're being completely honest. It was what 10 men for a large portion of the game, 9 men for a portion of it as well. He only had 0.26 XG, so that was the chance versus Porro. And as the commentary team sort of rightly pointed out, 2 hands in the back of Romero. And it wasn't exactly a goal that I think probably should have been allowed, but who knows? At the same time, he's playing Wolves next. And Leeds, they've conceded chances, even though they're scoring. I think the key thing with Leeds is now we definitely look at them as a team that's a very competent attack. And I think maybe actually in terms of like comparing to a team like Sunderland, for example, I almost think it's like a situation where Sunderland look splendid at the back, still look not the best on attack, and then I guess Leeds is almost moving towards the other direction where I think they're a little bit more open at the back, but they've got a lot of firepower now. But that's also a game where they just ultimately scored 3 to 4 set pieces. So the narrative can always change with certain matches like that. And I don't think we need to overplay that. As I said, Sobo was probably a bad move. I wouldn't say an error on my part because it allowed me to get Semenyo as well. So I'm really happy about that. And on net, I think if I think about it, like last week, I think I was up 1 point by just having, let's say, the pair of Semenyo plus Sobo to, let's say, Virgil and Bumo. This week, I guess I probably would have kept Virgil and I think still gone Semenyo, but maybe, not own Sobo. But I'd still have Dewsbury Hall to deal with, and he's a transfer out. And Sobo's a transfer out now, potentially. Something that I was actually thinking of before I made my moves was actually if I keep Sobo and stay in this 3-5-2 structure, I am keeping on paper someone who's on Liverpool penalties for the foreseeable. But then I actually saw the news about Isak. I saw Alisson's quotes. I saw some of the reporting after the game, and it's kind of suggested that it's not the ACL/MCL feared, but it's actually a lower leg injury. So I think in that case, that's not Sobo 100% pen share. And with the Bradley injury, I mean, that's Sobo deputizing at right back/right center mid. Like if you saw the way that Frimpong came into the pitch, he was clearly playing right wing. I don't think Sobo was playing right back necessarily. It actually almost looked like Liverpool were more of a back three-ish, and then Sobo was sort of like a right center mid in a diamond, which that's not the most exciting asset in the game, especially if he's not going to get guaranteed pen share over the fixture run ahead. So I did ultimately sit on that game and think, okay, coming out of this, having watched Thiago play football, which wasn't pleasant, by the way, I probably want Ekitike, and I think I found a way to get towards Ekitike that I like, while still keeping some of the loose transfer threats or transfer focuses and targets that I have, available to me. So that's kind of how I feel about this week. We can just jump into my team selection now because I'm, someone who's gone and done early transfers, as I like to do, to be honest, in FPL. I'm not someone who is against them. I've never been someone who's ever championed the idea that you need to wait to the deadline. This is my personal playstyle preference, and I'm happy with the moves that I've made. So what I've done is Lacroix to Keane, as you can see, top left corner. I've done Thiago to Ekitike, and I've done Sobo to Enzo Lefebvre. So Lefebvre is on 4 yellow cards. Keane is not on 4 yellow cards. Tarkowski is on 4 yellow cards after the Arsenal match. I think the point to make there is I was a little bit cold on Tarkowski because of the 4 yellow cards. I kind of like Virgil a lot as well still, but there's Konate. And I think the theme of the season is that unless there's a massive DEFCON gap between defenders, I really think you can budget down. Hincapie is a great example of that, where sure, Timber looks really threatening on attack, so is Calafiori, but if you get an opportunity to get into someone who actually looks like he can hold his own, like, for example, Hincapie is going to outvalue, let's say, maybe both Timber and Calafiori because of DEFCON. Even though both of those players have much more open play value, he himself, as you can see within some of the Champions League matches, can get onto set pieces. So it's not like he's lost that value as an Arsenal center back. For Keane, he's very close to Tarkowski and DEFCON. So at that point, you're basically saying, is there a huge set piece gap? Is there, anything else to it? And really the only thing that's a detriment towards Keane is going to be Branthwaite, right? Branthwaite coming back soon could hurt Keane but I still think he's, you know, on a way back to recovery, and I'm hoping to get Keane for Burnley away and hopefully also Wolves at home, and then maybe I can dispose of Keane. O'Reilly, I own at a pretty cut rate price, and he's still, for example, cheaper than Guardiola, who's probably outscored him as of late, but I still think I prefer O'Reilly. In the midfield, I've effectively moved Sobo to Sobo at home. So Semenyo and Lefebvre are both on 4 yellow cards. But I think the key thing that I'll talk about in a moment is that I've left money in the bank specifically for the moves that I'm going to make. And Lefebvre, I think, is just a 4.9 option who I see as a starter this week, but I don't necessarily need him for the weeks forward, right? So he kind of reminds me of actually when I made a move towards Junior Krupi many weeks ago in a 4-4-2 structure, and actually just said, I'm going to play Krupi for the one game that he's definitely going to start. And after that, I can kind of stash him on my bench. I kind of see the same thing here with Enzo Lefebvre. And I still have 5 good defenders in my mind. So Richards, for example, is someone who's held, Lacroix toe for toe over the course of the season for DEFCON, so I'm happy to keep him. Anderson as well. And Krupi Jr. continues to sort of make bench appearances and simply actually plays football compared to Mark Yu, who doesn't. So to me, that's a pro, and I've got Ekitike now. So I'm really happy with the team. But just to kind of make the point as well in terms of just the transfers, right? So if I show my transfers now, so the point here is that I've got 0.5 in the bank and 1 free transfer, and I would like to make Semenyo either Cunha in the future, or maybe if, let's say, Gabriel is super close to coming back, I at least need some sort of leg room to be able to move into maybe Tarkowski. It is a bit risky now with the yellow card situation, so it would obviously be nicer if Hincapié could be Calafiori, but I might not be able to do it. What I do like, though, is that Semenyo could arguably get a double rise this week. I don't think that's ludicrous because he's one of the few midfielders in the game who's gotten a point haul. People are going to be moving out of Sobo. People are also maybe moving out of Saka as well, so looking for another midfielder to own, and a cheaper midfielder is right here in Semenyo. So I'm hoping that he gets a double rise because that would actually get me 0.1 in team value, but or sell value, but I could do Semenyo to Cunha, and that only is going to cost me 0.3. So I have 0.2 in the bank to, in theory, upgrade Hincapié to Konate, to Tarkowski, and that's it. Calafiori is tough to get to, right? So he's 5.7. I would need Hincapié to get a price rise, which is possible. I think people do react to hauls in this game. Hincapié has shown that he's more than capable of getting DEFCON. I think he's gotten 4 out of 4 DEFCONs now, and proven to be like very consistent at it. So I can definitely see Hincapié actually rising and maybe giving me enough money. So whatever direction, if I get 0.1 from, let's say, Semenyo or 0.1 from Hincapié, I can get to Calafiori still. And I think that's it. These are all the players that I really want in FPL right now. All the forwards, in my opinion, I kind of loathe. Ekitike is the only one that I really like, and that's purely because of fixtures. And then also the Isak injury continues to help his minutes. For Lefebvre, as I said, I'm only going to play him this week. And then after that, you can kind of look at the team that I have. Most weeks I can play 5-4-1. Even this week I can play 5-4-1. But I'm not going to do that because I've got Ekitike. So, it's more of like, okay, do I play 4-4-2 this week? Do I play 3-5-2 this week? Because this is obviously the prime Ekitike game. The only game where I really bench Ekitike is going to be Arsenal away in the future. So we just need to leave a plan for that. But I think that's fine, right? That's going to be me saving up free transfers so that I can make a move on Gameweek 21, maybe 22. The odd thing is, I think because Ekitike plays like Burnley at home Gameweek 22, all I need to do is just bench Ekitike. I will reconsider how I own double Arsenal defense over this fixture run, but I still think that they're a really good double up, and I haven't really compromised my team at all by moving into Ekitike here. So I'm really happy with the direction that I've taken. As I said, I'd love to go towards Semenyo to Cunha, but I'm going to watch United versus Arsenal, Aston Villa versus United, and then reevaluate how I feel about that United team, because I still think keeping Semenyo could make a lot of sense. It's Brentford away. I don't think Brentford looked amazing. Sure, we can mention that Bournemouth have been absolutely deplorable away, and I've just sold Thiago, to be fair. I think this is actually Thiago's best game, Bournemouth at home, but this is also Ekitike's best game for a pretty short term here with Wolves at home. So that's the plan that I've made. I'm going to lock in these moves and save that 1 free transfer for whatever emergency I have, or, the luxury, as I said, of being able to move from Semenyo to Cunha. And that's pretty much my plan for the short term. Let's have a look at my transfer plans after this. So we're back here with the My Team pick and rating tool from Fantasy Football Hub. If you guys are interested in using this, it's a fantastic tool that I use to make sure that every week I've actually got a good team on paper set out in the future. There's also a great Christmas offer right now. So if you're actually interested in using any of the Pro Tools available, have a look at the link in description. There's a Christmas offer at this moment, which is if you don't get a rank rise and you've signed up by Christmas on the January the 7th, I believe, you will actually just get a full season off. So 365 days, that should carry on towards the next season. So pretty unlikely that you'll get that rank drop, but if you do get the Christmas offering there. Otherwise, of course, you enjoy a discounted version of the Pro Tools at this moment in time with the Christmas offer. So let's just jump into my team. Let's make the moves that I actually wanted to make with my team anyways, that I have. The problem, I suppose, is that I've probably not priced in, let's say, the falls and things like that, but we can just amend for that in a moment. So let's go Lefay. In the midfield, let's just move Thiago into Ekitike. And that is clearly a lot of money left in the bank, but Lacroix as well will just be keen. So we can make those transfers and obviously just kind of override the system anyways, right? Because that's the whole point. So if we optimize for this game week, the team's actually looking pretty solid, 94 rated. It says play Richards. I would play Lefay in this circumstance. I think there's a little bit of yellow card tax added to Lefay, but Leeds at home is a great fixture. I'm not going to discount that. So I probably bench Richards here in this situation. Tottenham at home is a great game. And to be honest, I sold Lacroix for Tottenham at home, but I don't really regret it too much because ultimately, I prefer Keane versus Burnley. That's what it comes down to. Everton didn't look too bad versus Arsenal. I think we were kind of expecting them to get rolled over by Arsenal, and Arsenal did get a penalty within that match. Otherwise, didn't create too much in open play, to be quite honest. So looking forward to this Everton fixture run here, and hopefully just as many starts from Keane as possible. On game week 19, if we optimize the team once again, this is kind of where I think, okay, the team can probably be improved because Semenyo's Chelsea away. This is so obviously just a Cunha window for me. And you guys know that I can't afford Cunha just based on having a look at the transfer value that I have. So I can once again override the sort of in the bank thing and just show that I've got an exceptional team if I bring in Cunha this week. So the biggest question, I suppose, is if I take a step back, right? Go back to game week 18 for a second, which is this week. If I went for Cunha here, how does that compare to, let's say, Semenyo? So it seems like the model is projecting slightly more points for Cunha here versus Semenyo. And I think that makes sense, right? Home and away always makes a significant difference. As I've been saying in my videos, though, I don't really want to move Cunha before I watch United play. I just want to get a little bit more information. I want to see if Cunha, for example, could even, let's say, what if there's a world where he could still get subbed pre-90? Because sure, it seems like there's not enough players right now playing on the pitch for United that would even allow for Cunha to get subbed early. But what if? So I just want to keep that option open. The fact that there's a good game this week probably suggests that I could do Semenyo to Cunha here. But I actually kind of like just waiting for game week 19. However, on game week 19, I'd still have an additional free transfer, right? So it could be that I move Hincapie out. And as you can see, Keane still has a great game, which is Nottingham Forest away. Still see that as a pretty good DEFCON game. Anderson's not the worst player in the world. Lefay suddenly becomes a lot less useful here, and I've moved back into the 4-4-2 structure. So the irony, I suppose, is that I've moved back into the KDH structure, but I've replaced KDH with Enzo Lefay, and I'm hoping for the best here with him. But it's not like I'm going to play him every single week. So if, let's say, Hincapie is available for Aston Villa at home, then I'll just play Hincapie versus Aston Villa at home, and suddenly this team will also look a lot better. So I totally appreciate that the model is kind of predicting that Gabriel's coming back soon. But we don't know. We pretty much should just be playing Hincapie up until he's back. And as I said, if I get some transfer, like team value coming out of Hincapie, maybe I could just go Calafiori, and that could still keep me, having a nailed player. One of my concerns, I suppose, if let's say Hincapie is like putting in some pretty good performances, is there an opportunity for, let's say, Calafiori to lose minutes in the future to Hincapie on the left back position? I don't really think so, because when I watched Hincapie play left back versus Wolves, I was not impressed. So that's kind of my take there. In terms of game week 20, as you can see, we don't even really need to optimize the team here. It's still a very, very good team. And same with game week 21. So going back to all the videos that I've been making recently, I've kind of said game week 18/19 is where I plan to use a lot of free transfers. And let's be honest, I've already used a lot of them. If I roll one of the free transfers into, let's say, going back all the way towards game week 19 here, I'd still use one probably. I think I still have to squeeze at least one more just to deal with the Hincapie situation, come what may of it. So that probably means that I will only start to roll, let's say from game week 20 onwards, right? So 20 I roll, 21 I roll as well, 22 I roll. And you can see all these game weeks are quite good, but 22 I think is an interesting window because I think 22 personally is, to me, is Cole Palmer time because it's Brentford at home. You do lose Man United at home for, let's say, Bukayo Saka, but generally speaking, I think this is where the Palmer run starts. So as long as I prepare to have a little bit more money around this period, I think this is the transfer plan that I'm going with. So what can that, how can I do this? I think Hincapié can go at some point. If I can go to someone cheaper, wonderful. If I could do Krupi Jr. to Obi, and that gives me enough money to go Palmer, maybe that's the only move that I need to make because I think the rest of the squad actually still looks pretty good, to be honest. This is going to be a terrible week on paper because it's City versus United. And I think whilst the pro is that both of these teams have been really good on attack, so you're kind of hoping for like a goal fest. And I think, to be honest, most of the United and City games have kind of been goal fests. The main detriment here is, this is not particularly good for a Keane game. This is not, any good away or home matches for my defense. So it's not the best week at all. But I think this is where I still think the priority transfer is to move into, let's say, a Chelsea player here. And maybe actually, if let's say I've kept Hincapié all this time for whatever reason, there's still an opportunity to move into Chalobah as well. Or if this is the window where I wish to depart from Raya, who has obviously kept a lot of team value for me, maybe I just move to Sanchez here and I still cough up that sort of money. So I think triple Chelsea is a consideration this window. And as long as you have 2 to 3 free transfers to enable you to do this by game week 22, I think you're kind of a happy customer. At the same time, this is obviously a great Liverpool game. So maybe I need to be thinking about, is Sobo interesting at this point in time? Is he on pen still? Or do I think about Virgil van Dijk and actually bring him back into the team? So those are the kind of considerations where I think on 22, it's probably another question mark in terms of how you actually move into Liverpool. Because if we take a step back to game week 21, you don't really want too much Liverpool and Arsenal heading in towards game week 21 because it's Liverpool versus Arsenal again. Probably a pretty boring, kind of low-scoring affair, I would imagine. It is nice that it's an Arsenal home game, so I think I'd feel a little bit more comfortable actually playing Saka here, whereas I'd probably bench maybe Ekitike. It really just depends on how bad my team looks here, right? Because I think all this time I've been showing you that I'm keeping Hincapié, but he's obviously not playing. However, if I have, let's say, a better defender than Hincapié on this specific game week, say I have, let's say, Tarkowski, he's better than, let's say, Ekitike would be this game week. However, I might just bench Anderson at the same time. So we'll see what happens, but I think these are the kind of things that are sort of in my mind. As I said, game week 22 is the window where I think I need to put a stop with all these free transfers soon. Start to actually accumulate them once again, and probably on 22, prepare to use them. The next window I think that's worth using them for, as I said, is going to be 24. So if, let's say, you somehow skipped on Chelsea in 22, I think you can probably look at the Chelsea fixtures and just say, maybe I would actually not own Chelsea because it's Crystal Palace away. So instead, you can delay your free transfers of, let's say, all the Chelsea players that you wanted to have into game week 24. So, for example, in my team context, if I wanted to get more Liverpool in game week 22, maybe I choose to do that instead because Burnley at home, I think, is higher priority than whatever Chelsea fixture is. And I could actually just delay the transfer until then. So that's something that I've been thinking about as well. It's not like you necessarily need to move into Chelsea as soon as possible, but they're obviously a very good team to invest into. We've just seen Chelsea, let's say, concede to Newcastle. They put in some pretty poor Champions League performances. I'd like to see how this team moves forward, but Chelsea just generally have a really clean fixture run around 22, 24. So regardless, I'm just going to be moving into them. It's just about when, and it's about how. And at the same time, in the short term, like if you're as aggressive as I am, then you've already made moves where suddenly you realize, okay, I don't have the luxury of being able to make short-term transfers on, let's say, a 21 or a 20, like, or game week 20. Whereas I am planning to make at least maybe one more transfer on 18. And, if I'm forced to pull a transfer on Hincapié, then I will on game week 19. So that's kind of where my thoughts are right now in terms of game week 18 and the transfer plans that I have. As I said, there's a great offer, link in description, with Fantasy Football Hub for the Christmas deal. Otherwise, pretty happy to actually be sitting at the rank that I'm at. Looking forward to Bruno playing. Looking forward to also watching the remainder of the matches. And I'd really like to see how my free transfers pan out. So we've gone early again. Hopefully it's not too detrimental, but one free transfer hopefully to paper over the cracks. And I'll see you guys next week for more content.